How can you practice achieving the correct microblading depth on latex? A lot of people struggle to find that proper microblading depth in order to achieve the best results. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can simulate the correct depth working on latex. If you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name is Christy and I'm the owner of Boss Brows. This whole channel is about sharing tips and tricks and business savvy in order to help other microbladers become the best they can be. So if you're a microblading artist trying to step up your brow game, make sure to hit that subscribe button at the end of the video because I come out with new videos every Tuesday. What makes achieving microblading depth so difficult? Because it is really difficult. This is one thing that I find to be a common question amongst all my students. How to achieve the perfect microblading depth. And really the reason why it's so difficult, not everyone has the same skin type. Some people have thin, sensitive skin and others have really thick skin. I have a whole video on how deep to go into the skin when microblading to achieve the perfect depth. That is a must watch in addition to this video, where I go over the 3 simple ways that you can improve your microblading depth. We're gonna practice at home using a mannequin head, some waterproof tape, this is the shit, one of my disposable U-blades, some of the Boss Brows brow mapping string, and a brow pencil. What I recommend doing first is just putting on some eyebrows. I am going to use the pre-inked mapping string. When you're working on fake skin or latex, you can use any type of blade. You can use a hard needle or you can use a flex needle. When you're using a hard needle, it's actually a little easier to control on latex. But if you're using a hard needle on a client, it breaks into the skin much easier. So really you shouldn't be using it unless you are more advanced and comfortable with the blade and if the client's skin is suitable for a hard blade. It would be more for thicker skin that can handle the hard blade. A flex blade is much better for someone with thinner skin. So that's the first thing when you're practicing your depth, is knowing which needle to use. Now I know we're not working on a client, but practicing the way you would practice on an actual client makes a big difference. Correct depth comes down to 3 things, and I go over this in my other video, which is how to achieve perfect depth, but 3 things are involved. You have your stretch, your skin type, and your pressure. Pressure is what we're going to practice on latex. Something we're all guilty of when we first start microblading is we try to force the blade instead of allowing the blade to do the work. So when you're practicing on your synthetic skin, and in this case, I'm actually not using latex, I'm using this waterproof tape, which is great for practicing. It's as close to working on a client as you can get without actually working on a client. My first pro tip, really allow the blade to do the work for you. Use as little pressure as you can. Just start practicing your strokes like you would on latex and start doing your eyebrow. What's great about this waterproof tape is you can actually use pigment on this and create an entire microbladed eyebrow. But for this, I'm just trying to practice how accurate your depth is. So go ahead and try different pressures. On this side, I'm gonna show you what happens when you apply way too much pressure. So, as you know, you always wanna hold the skin taut. You don't want the skin to move. You wanna hit the skin at 90-degree angle. All of these are important in achieving the correct depth because you have to get there the right way. So here, I'm not allowing the blade to do the work for me. I'm actually digging this blade into the waterproof tape or synthetic skin. And on this side, I'm practicing very light pressure. I am just gliding my hand. Instead of digging the blade into it, I'm just gliding those pins against the skin. Again, on this side, what I'm doing is I'm applying way too much pressure. so that you can see for this demonstration's purpose. We're trying to hit the first layer of the dermis. This is how you can tell if you've gone too deep. Pull your tape off. Do it very slowly. If you pull the tape off really slow, it shouldn't rip, okay? That's if you haven't gone too deep. On this side, where I went much deeper, I applied a lot of pressure. Can you see? Oh my gosh. I mean, I pulled this tape off just as slow as I did the other side. On the left side, you have, so you can tell where I applied way too much pressure in those front strokes, because when I pulled that tape off, look at how big those slits are. They shouldn't be slits in the skin. It really should be a slight channel. Even these right here, they're not as deep. I started to adjust my pressure, but still, look at that gash. Now, look on this brow. Notice how you can see the microblading strokes, but they didn't cut through. That's what you want to do. You want to actually get your blade through the epidermis, but not too deep in the dermis. I'm gonna put this one back on because I will say I think my blade was a little dull. I am actually gonna pull a fresh new blade out because these are blades that I just keep on my desk and I practice every morning before work. I do feel like when I pulled this off, it looked like these were a little jagged, like my blade was dull and possibly bent, which probably true because I don't have, yeah, it does look a little bent on one of these. But yeah, I'm gonna try a new blade and just try a few strokes. Letting the needle or blade do the work for me. Light, even pressure. Okay, now slowly pull this off. I know it's hard for you to see, but these strokes are much cleaner. They still aren't too deep. They go through the tape, but they don't actually cut all the way through. You can also practice on latex and adjust your pressure. So nice, even, smooth, fluid strokes. Soft pressure, let the blade do the work for you. And now I'm gonna show you way too deep. I don't wanna use my new blade. I'm forcing the blade in here. Not only can you tell if you're going too deep, but you can also tell if you're not curving your tool properly. I mean, I'm still curving it, but you can tell this is just way too deep. Look how thick. It almost looks like the pins are thicker in diameter, but these are both 2.0 millimeter. Look at this. They're clean. They have a nice even channel, but they don't go all the way through. They don't look too thick. I hope you know I am schwitzing right now. All these 1, 2, 3. I have 4 lamps, but I will do it for the YouTube. Now, make sure you check out the other part of this video, which is how deep to go to achieve proper depth in microblading.